Hey ratbags, it's Jade. Today giving you the ultimate guide to trinkets in Grounded. There's over 48 different variants, from drops from enemies, finding specific world locations, or being able to craft them eventually, as well as all the ones that drop in New Game Plus. So I'm going to cover how to get every single one, explain what they do, and the full lowdown on special event trinket that you can pick up, as well as all them New Game Plus ones. If you do find this video useful, please leave a like, go and check out the rest of my content, and let's go. Everything you need to know, the ultimate guide to trinkets in Grounded. Let's go. So starting out with some of the basic ones that you'll be able to craft or find early game. Astonishing Acid is meant to give a burst of acid damage when you hit the third final combo of a 3-hit combo. So again, only works on weapons that have the 3-hit combo, no daggers, no range weapons. Use it on your first spears that you might craft, or possibly even a club. Anything that does the 3 combo effect. The Nifty Needle will give you a special extra damage with charge shots. And the Acorn Shell, that's going to make you a major threat and also reduce the amount of damage that players can do to you when in multiplayer. That's probably the least useful one, obviously, unless you really do have a lot of trouble with your friends beating you up in Grounded. Deuces sign was one of the last ones to be added. You can find it near the paint can, all the way to the south of the yard, near where you can see the decking for the shed. Underneath it you'll find, amongst one of the rocks, a special place that you'll find the 5th remains of the teenager, or possibly his last encampment. He still may be alive, we can't guarantee it. This will give you a 30% speed boost for 3 seconds anytime you hit a spider enemy. So a good early game one, hence why I've included it with the 3 that you can craft early as well. Ominant have sent various different scientists and personnel to scour the backyard for Wendell, so you can find their Ominant badges that give special buffs but also debuffs. Head over to the southeast of the map, and just between the hedge and the plank deck you'll come across the compliance badge. This will give you a small heal every time you parry. All of these Ominant badges, as said, come with a negative as well as a positive. In this case you'll take more damage as well as giving it more. Great for people that really can nail down the parrying perfectly. So secret stats, you'll gain 8 health with 1 perfect block, but this actually stacks if multiple enemies are around you. So if you had 5 larvae around you, called into the data files, you would receive 40 healing. But you are open to 35% more damage taken if you don't perfect block. The defense badge, situated in the Haze laboratory, gain access by a bomb to the main door or swim through the exposed pipe. Of course, here it is on the map. Head out the first part of the laboratory, and to the right hand side you'll find another skeleton with the defense badge. It will give you more defense stats, but it would also mean that you can't hit as hard. So you receive 25% less damage, but you do 15% less attack damage. The biomedical badge, which you can find in the sandbox in Footprint, but you must bring a shovel to dig up a skeleton, will regenerate 0.35 of the player's health every 5 seconds. The negative is that it takes away your hunger bar much quicker. 6 points every 10 seconds, so you'll always be much hungrier wearing it. And pretty much means you'll have to eat an extra meal every 4 minutes or so to keep your hunger up. The entomologist badge you can find in the barbecue zone, just to the right hand side of the grill facing the rest of the yard. You should find a skeleton underneath this boulder. It's going to increase your attack damage by 10%, but it does reduce your perfect block window, effectively meaning you cannot perfect block. So best use, make sure you've got this equipped to something that you're going to be using Barbarian with, and you'll do a ton more damage. You won't have to worry about really blocking or perfect blocking anyway. Toxicology badge reduces gas damage taken by 90%, provides 100% dust immunity, and doubles the amount of poison damage that you receive. So great for the haze and the black ant table, but not so good when you're facing off against any infected wolf spiders or wolf spiders. Here's a challenge to get though. You'll find it in a skeleton just near the entrance to where you have to turn on a switch to gain power in the pond in the broken lab section. Turn the switch on first, then come back as a second run, otherwise you might not have enough air. The intern badge will allow you to carry 10 more planks with it alone, so you can make an OP build. If you achieve max cozy and have the cozy mutation for hauling, then you can carry over 100 stems or planks in one go, when you've got the right gear and you're using some of the new plank carriers. You'll find it here on the map like I just shown, and you'll need a tier 3 axe to break through the roots. Without all that other stuff, being able to carry 10 more planks is pretty good. The payoff though is that you're going to be 25% slower. However, if you've got Natural Explorer fully upgraded and a good pair of aphid boots, you can pretty much negate most of them negative effects, so you don't really feel it at all. The last of the ominant badges for now is the health and safety. This is in the wasp nest where you go and summon the queen. You should find it on a skeleton that has been slightly moved now, contrary to what you're seeing, just in front of the summon point. Attack an enemy and you will get 4% health back with each hit. So the more damage you do, the more health that you'll get back. However, it applies the bleed buff or debuff for 5 health every 3 seconds when you've got it equipped. So you should only really have it on when you're about to go and fight something large and big like a boss, or you know that you're going to be taking it off straight away after. Really good for berserker style builds, rather than maybe something ranged where it's going to be taking longer shots. Next, we're taking a look at the rotten berry charm. You'll find this in the eastern flower bed, and you'll need some ladders or some sort of platforms to get up to the secret ominant doorway. A fan favourite, as this place was in the game for a long time, hiding a terrible berry monster that we thought might originally come, but it never did. You will also need a bomb to blow open the door, and inside you'll find some upgrade materials, plus the pinch whacker. And just here is the berry charm. If you use a rotten weapon like the ant club, or the larvae blade, or the stinger, you've got a 10% chance of releasing a poison cloud. It does 25 damage every 5 seconds for 15 seconds. And it should stack with other poison enhancing abilities, all except the Black Widow. It doesn't work with the sleek upgrades for that armor set. Like to try an unarmed build, then you're going to need the power droplet. It's situated in the upper yard. You find it at the back of the brony box. Either climb up the wire near Jarvmatic, then glide across the ivy, and you keep following the video and you'll see it, as I talk about what it does and the changes it had. Your unarmed attacks have a 25% chance to generate a special bonus hit, which will deal 6 true damage and 1 stun. Now 6 damage might not sound a lot, but when you're punching, doing very fast hits, especially with other stuff equipped, it can really make a big difference in hurting through enemies, and it ignores a lot of their own special resistances and defense stats. This is how you've seen YouTubers absolutely murder maybe bosses, but when you've gone to do it, something maybe changed. As far as I'm aware, they changed and nerfed it slightly. It used to proc almost unendlessly, so that each hit would then start getting even bigger, or you had more chance of it hitting and hurting bosses or creatures. Now though, it resets when you take a hit. So as long as you're pretty good at dodging, you won't have to worry too much, but there will be a small time limit that you have to keep applying the hits so that you can keep giving the most damage. So when that bonus applies and you get that extra 6 hit damage and that 1 stun, it does also enhance your stun abilities. The example given is if you're wearing the bee armor, which increases the amount of stun damage, then when that special bonus hit hits, you'll do more stun damage. But wait, there's more. That second hit also takes on the traits of whatever mutation you've got equipped to deal that extra damage. So if you've got chopper mutation on, then you're going to do 25% extra chopping damage, even though you're not actually using a weapon and just your bare fists. This should work with all the offensive mutations that you've got, the hit tool ones at least. And it can help out with crossbows doing more damage too. You can see it's pretty challenging to get, and some players have reported that it's not there. I suggest that you're probably just looking at the wrong brick. Which is good for later, because you might want to start maining another weapon, and now you'll have the mutation leveled up to its max because you've gone and killed 200 creatures with your fist. So still a really powerful build regardless of the fact it's lost its unlimited stacking ability. Equip this with a shield to block and you're pretty much going to be good and golden, do a lot of damage. You're going to need to kill a lot of aphids for the next one, which is the speed droplet. With it equipped, you'll reduce your stamina cost by 10% and you'll increase your speed by 10%. How do you get it? You need to go ahead and hurt a lot of aphids while having the sticky gum equipped, or possibly the steel mutation. The sticky gum can only be blown up by a tier 3 explosion, which is normally going to be the bomb arrows, although you could use the brand new moldy blaster as well, but that involves killing the infected brood mother, and that's not necessarily going to be easier to do than just getting the actual arrows. You obviously need to go ahead and get the key to open up the box that's inside the tyre in the upper yard. Yes, I know I'm going through a lot of steps, but the key is situated on top of the bricks, just above the ladder in the upper yard. You can climb the vines up there once you've jumped from the ladder, or just build a ramp and then go ahead and dig into the gum there with just a regular tier 2 shovel and you'll get the sticky key. Head over to the tyre, drop into the water, go ahead and open the chest, and you've now got the recipe for bomb arrows. So that will give you a small chance to steal when you go ahead and hurt enemies. So you don't really want to be using big weapons that will kill them. You want to be using the worst weapons that you can think of so you can get more hits in, have a chance of stealing. It's about 1 in 12 hits with an aphid. And yes, you can use the steal mutation that you can get by going ahead and finding all of the figurines inside of laboratories. So create a honey trap, put it inside walls and a ramp, and the aphid should come. It doesn't work on your pet aphids and you're better off using your fists. So I did 2 in 1 there because I did explain how to get the sticky charm as well, but a bit more info about it. These are the secret stats that you get 10% chance to steal from an enemy when you hit it. But once you've stolen 1 piece of bug flesh or whatever, then that's it. You won't be able to steal anymore. You can pretty much steal most materials from bugs that you fight, except for some of the bosses. You can't steal a mantis claw, you can't steal the infected or normal broodmother fangs or the venom. But you can steal the regular body parts from them bosses. You also can steal their trinkets, and that's how we're going to be solving that when I talk about it towards the end of the video. So for the infected broodmother fight, it will work during the first stages, and once you've stolen some infected broodmother chunks, you're not going to be able to steal anything else from it. So you may as well reload or die and try it again if you're trying to get the infected broodmother trinket. That's what we'll talk about later. Volatile fang you get from infected wall spiders, but only by stealing using the trinket or the mutation. Every perfect block has a 30% chance to do explosive damage for 120. It will do 120 damage in a 400 range area. A bit harder to get according to the wiki, it's 1 in 20 chance of stealing. But be warned, it won't work when fighting infected wolf spiders that you've triggered via the waft emitter. Next up is Thor's pendant, one of the favourites I think of a lot of people on the fallen branch in the upper yard. You need to climb all the way to the top to get it. What it does, 1% critical chance, 10% critical damage, 10% increased healing received, 10% reduced sizzle accumulation, 10% reduced exhaustion time, 10% reduced hunger rate, 10% reduced thirst rate, 10% reduced stamina use with attacks. You also get 1 health regeneration every 10 seconds, and it'll give 5 stamina regeneration every 10 seconds. And that's why it's pretty much a lot of people's favourite, just to be running around doing your usual exploring unless you've got a specific purpose or killing a certain type of bug. It can be a bit finicky to spot and it can be a bit hard to go. I'm probably showing the long way here, but this is the way that I did it originally in the original video. Little trivia for you, obviously Thor is Wendell's son. And speaking of Wendell's kids, then we need to get Sarah's charm as well, which is his other child. You need to defeat the assistant manager and you'll get the assistant manager keycard. This opens up certain secret laboratories hidden around the map, and the one that you need to go to is the one hiding underneath the oak in the pond. You should be able to access this doorway and then go free to a special door with the assistant manager keycard. Inside the chest you'll find 1/2 of Sarah's charm, which we'll talk about in a second, and more importantly a button that you must press. You then need to head over to the stump lab to find the other half of the charm. You can use both of these halves on their own, but when combined they make it much more powerful. The left elf charm is going to give you a 10% chance to repair 25 durability on your equipped shield. So on your basic shield, that's about 25% of its durability repaired. But for a tier 3 shield, which has 250 durability, it's not exactly the biggest amount. That's why you really need to go ahead and combine it with the right side to make the full Sarah's charm. If you're using just the right side on its own, which you can find inside the stump lab, then that's going to give you a 10% chance to repair durability on your attacks with a weapon. Combine that together and you've got a very good chance of keeping your weapon and shield repaired at all times when you're attacking and defending against a creature. You will need pond moss though and tough gunk to go ahead and combine them. There are 4 unique food droplets. You'll get them by demolishing either the mint ice caps, the spicy cha-chas, the sour wormholes, or getting some of the salt. They have a 1% chance of dropping when you go and harvest any of these, and they'll give you 15 extra of that kind of damage on any melee weapon. Only for melee weapons, no staves, no bows or thrown stuff, and yes, it will work on top of your normal elemental damage. So your Kultana will still do spicy, but if you add the fresh trinket, it will do 15 fresh damage as well. The everlasting hogstopper is pretty much a drop from a hot dog, and this will reduce the amount of hunger that you have. It reduces it by 10 every 60 seconds, and effectively means you'll need 1 less meal every 5 minutes. As far as I know, you can only get this from fresh biddy hogs and not any of the rotten ones that you find in the rubbish. Next up, the fungal growth charm, which gives a 75% reduction in explosive damage. It's really great for taking on the infected broodmother. Combine this with the 50% explosive resist you get with the infected shield, so in theory it should make you almost invincible from explosions. There's only 1% chance of getting it though from harvesting the fungal growths. While you're in the haze, get some feathers because you might get the fancy fletching, which gives a 5-second buff that reduces exhaustion recovery by 75%. This got changed in one of the updates afterwards, but effectively means you can keep firing more arrows. Insulating lava spike that you have a chance of getting from the ladybird larvae. 5% chance from dropping, but not from ones that are underground or the Kultana event. Although there is a particular ladybird larvae that you'll find in the ladybird cave that connects the bottom of the yard pretty much to the upper yard. This actually has a 100% chance of dropping. So clear out that cave and you more or less will find one of these, but they are some of the most frequent drops I've come across. It will increase your resistance to sizzle effect from the sandbox, the barbecue spill and fellow late larvae attacks by 50%. The dandelion tuft has a chance from dropping from harvesting dandelions, and previously you used to be able to just use it for a limited time, but now it stays forever. So if you find this, it's a really good one to have, as you won't need to load up on dandelions to stop you falling, but you still have to have it equipped as a trinket, whereas now dandelions will just simply be in your inventory and be used every time you start to fall. And of course it does reduce your fall damage. Next up, the shield solidifier, which you find in the Brawny Boy bin box inside the wormhole tub. It increases your block gauge of your shields and only your shields by 200, so not two-handed weapons. So if you suck at perfect parrying, this is the one for you. Maybe try it out on the Black Widow also inside the Brawny box, because it's guarding a special whittle widowling, which is a trinket you'll get by harvesting the egg sac that's in here. Tier 3 axe needed to break open the egg sac, and it will give you the ability to summon black widowlings when you fight creatures. Have this equipped with Mum's Jeans and you've pretty much got the ultimate spider summoner build. Attacking an enemy or perfect block should summon it, and it does the same attacks pretty much as a Black Widow, but a little bit maybe lesser, but it still can inflict venom, has a chance to at least anyway. So with Mum's Jeans you can summon both types of spiders at once. Then we've got Goopy Goo, which you've got a 1% chance of getting by killing some of the fireflies. What does it do? It slows down enemies' attack speeds and in general slows them down when you hit on the third combo hit. You can see both of them are popped up on this orb weaver. Potentially very good for maybe taking on creatures like the infected broodmother and very fast hitting ones maybe like the Black Widow as well. Next up, the unstable capacitator, which you can only get once you got to a certain stage of the game where you can start picking up orc receivers, as you'll need to feed them into the waft emitter to summon a wave of orc creatures. You then kill Tay's Tees and it's got a chance of dropping from one of them. You cannot steal it from them and you can't get it on any of the other Tay's Tees earlier on in the game. It's got a 5% chance from dropping from killing them, so you may need to do lots of different waves. From my experience, you're better off putting at least 4 to 5 orc receivers in to guarantee getting a Taste Tea, otherwise you might just get some of the other orc creatures instead. It will give a 10% chance to trigger electric shock, which does 30 shock damage that ignores all damage resistance and 15 stun when triggered. So the best combination is this, probably with obviously the pinch whacker. Moving on to the boss trinkets, these have a 1% supposed chance of dropping, but that has been drastically increased recently. The Was Queen, the Mantis, the Infected Broodmother and the Broodmother all have a chance of dropping a trinket, which gives different buffs. You can gain them from looting their bodies or by stealing, again using either the trinkets or go ahead and use the mutation for steal. I'm just showing you one of the figurines that you need to get. There's 7 of them in total, all in the laboratories that you need to get the full Rascal Rogue. This increases the likelihood of you actually stealing, but it's not 100% necessary if you've got sticky fingers or you're just going to rely on RNG from looting it from a dead boss body. But I figure I might as well show you some of the locations for them at least anyway, and you'll get the rough idea. So from the Was Queen, the trinket will give you a 30% chance not to use an arrow. Pretty weak sauce, but there you go. If you've got a limited supply of arrows, you may want to consider using it just so you don't use up something like your salt arrows. The Mantis trinket gives every third hit of your combo a 2% increase to the player's critical hit chance. It's no good for an unarmed build or range build like bows or staves. nor does it work on daggers because they technically don't have a third hit combo. Once you do get that critical hit, it'll unleash all of the stacked combo hits that you never inflicted. The Broodmother trinket will give any summons the ability to also poison with its attacks. You'll do 25 damage every 5 seconds for 30 seconds each hit that they do. And this works with the Monstrous Stranger, it works with obviously the small regular spiderlings, plus the wasps that you get when you use the Apex Predator mutation on the Bard's Bow. Any of your summons from your mutations will also gain double damage. The infected Broodmother trinket is pretty similar. Any of your summons that you have, the Monstrous Stranger, or obviously the Spiderlings, or the Apex Predator Wasps, 25% chance of basically dropping a cluster bomb, which will do 70 explosive damage in a 300 range. Before I start talking about New Game Plus, we have to talk about the one event trinket that you can get. This will appear if you set your console to pretty much February the 14th onwards for the rest of that February month as it's celebrating Valentine's Day. Grounded added special limited time events like a spring event where you can obviously earn and try and get the lucky hat by breaking up rainbow coloured chocolate that appears where food normally appears. In this case, it will be a red Valentine heart. These will give you chocolate chunks or chocolate smoochies, which you can use to make Valentine arrows. But you've also got a 5% chance of this crush charm or Valentine's fortune dropping at the same time. It will give you 8 health every time you kill a creature, but doesn't work with ranged weapons, and yeah, is only available during February. So you can change your console or your PC's time to that and it should activate as it's in the game files, and I can spawn it in right now in Playgrounds mode or single player mode, or just wait until next February to get a chance to get it. For that reason, I'm kind of voting it one of the rarest ones you can get because it takes so much time to actually wait for it. Okay, in New Game Plus, every time you go and complete one of the 4 major dungeons and pick up the burgle chips, you will then find they become charms. So in Pond, Haze, Black Ant and the Hedge. Each one of these will have a fixed buff on it, but it'll also have a random chance of having something else from a pool of effects, which I'll explain as well. So Haze is always going to have Gas Guard, which will give you immunity against gas. Fresh Defense only gives you 25% protection at first level, then 50 at second and third. Toxicology Badge only protects you by 90%, but with Gas Guard from this one, it will give you complete immunity, so you won't need to wear a gas mask anymore. Instead, you can use this trinket. And it will come with that random extra bonus effect, so hopefully it'll be lucky and it'll be something good. The Pond comes with Veteran Diver, which gives you unlimited breathing, which again is complete underwater breathing rather than anything else that you can get, which only gives a reduction or just more time in the water without needing air. The Hedge will always have full immunity, so no damage from any height that you drop, and from the Black Ant Heal Lab it will give you Dust Guard, which protects against any dust attacks from mites, and it acts exactly the same way as the Toxicology Badge or the Impanda Dust or the Termite Armour. Now sadly, you used to be able to duplicate these and you'd get a reroll of an effect, but they went and changed it back so that you'd always basically only be able to duplicate them and get exactly the same effects. Which really sucks given that these are one-time use items that you can only get via each New Game Plus. So if you do get a bad roll and you don't like the effects that you've got on your Pond one with Veteran Diver, you can actually get rid of it via the remixer and basically hope you get a better one in the next New Game Plus. Something similar exists with the ominant badges. You'll still get the negatives, but you'll also gain an additional plus point, and again it can be randomized. So it is worth revisiting all of the places that you find all the ominant badges, because they may have an extra buff that really makes it worthwhile keeping, as I've often found that the ominant badges just aren't worth your time. If you get really unlucky, then dedupe them and hopefully you'll get lucky again in the next New Game Plus run. In New Game Plus, a lot of the trinkets that you can find in the world will also have additional effects. If you go into Playgrounds mode and take a look at the trinkets, you'll notice there's doubles. That's because these doubles have that extra bonus effect. So you can get bonus extra effects on Sarah's charms, all 3 versions, the complete one and the 2 that you find. Also on the shield solidifier, the rotten berry, the power droplet, whittling, Thor's pendant, the sticky gum, but you won't get additional effects on any of the boss trinkets that might drop again in New Game Plus, nor any of the other food container trinkets. There's no improvements to the speed droplet either. So if you take the base trinkets plus all of the ones that you're able to craft, like the globassa necklaces and stuff that I'm going to talk about in a second, and the ones that drop from creatures in New Game Plus, then you've got over 48. But if you include the ominant badges and the ones I mentioned that gain additional buffs, that brings it over to 66 different unique trinkets. So with each New Game Plus, that number increases by 16 again and again and again. That's obviously a lot more trinkets that potentially have different buffs on it. As far as I'm aware, reloading scum saving doesn't work. I tried it with the rotten berry charm and it still had exactly the same effect on it. So if you luck out and get something you don't particularly like on one of the trinkets, you can try re-rolling again. Maybe it's only just a hedgeberry, but I'm pretty sure if it's in the world as an item, like in skeletons or just laying on the ground, like obviously the power droplet, you can't change the effects once you loaded that world, even if you go ahead and reload the save. And finally, onto the trinkets that you can find and craft. By now you might have worked out that in New Game Plus you get the crinkles, the cones or the waffles. Crinkle trinkets can drop from killing enemies or certain enemies and you'll get one bonus buff. Again, it's randomized. There are so many of these buffs it's not worth trying to fit all in this one video, but things like making enemies more weak to certain elemental damage, extra damage types against bosses and certain creatures up to 30% more, extra defense, extra abilities for your summons, whole width of different effects that you may have seen on other armor pieces, other weapons or other statuses, as well as brand new ones. Tier 2 is going to be the waffles, you get 2 random buffs, and the cones, they're tier 3, you get 3 random buffs, so they're obviously the best. Each creature has a relative chance of dropping them and they don't have to be infused either. The infused creatures do give you though one of the largest chances, which is 25% chance of dropping a crinkle. Weirdly, after that, wasps should be something you go for, as the drones have a 40% chance of dropping a crinkle and regular wasps have a 20% chance. Stink bugs have a 25% chance of dropping crinkles. I won't list off the stats for all the rest, but they vary between 1% and 10%, and you can always check the wiki which has these listed. For waffles, you actually get more chance of them dropping by killing infected wolf spiders, a 50% chance. Also from the was queen, 50% chance, and you do get some also from the hedge broodmother at 20%. Green shield bug, 25% chance of dropping. Black ox beetles and wolf spiders, 10% chance of dropping. So if you want the best trinkets you can get in New Game Plus 1, then you need to kill black ox beetles, as there's a 5% chance of them dropping, or take on the infected broodmother where it's a 50% chance of dropping. This will increase with each and every New Game Plus. In New Game Plus 2, you got a 50% chance of getting them from infected wolf spiders, and a lot more creatures will now start dropping them, including antlions, black worker ants, fire ants. Admittedly, at low percentage chance of maybe only 1 or 2%. Black widows will drop them 25% of the time, as will the hedge broodmother at 20% and the green shield bug at 25%. And I'm not going to list off all the percentage for every New Game Plus, but the most important thing is that once you get to New Game Plus 3, pretty much all infused creatures have a 25% chance of dropping tier 3 cones, and they're the ones that we care about most. And you're 100% guaranteed to get a tier 3 cone by defeating the infected broodmother in New Game Plus 3. In New Game Plus 4 is the last time anything really changes. Wasps and wasdrones will have a 20% and a 40% chance of dropping science cones. Each New Game Plus from 1 upwards, it will increase the amount that you got also getting waffles. Although at New Game Plus 4, you don't get any more increases in the waffles, just the cones. So knowing that, it's actually in your best interest to only try and take on a lot of black ox beetles in New Game Plus 1, or the infected broodmother spider, and then really start to pay attention to the bugs that might drop certain cones and maybe even the waffles in New Game Plus 2 onwards. And lastly, onto the sausager, which you can only get once you've infected one of the ant queens. It can be any of the ant queens. Once you infect her, you then go into the next New Game Plus. And remember, you can infect the normal regular ant queen, the red ant queen, because you can find that recipe for it, which I've done separate guides for, so go and check them out. But you won't be able to infect the rest of the ant queens until New Game Plus 1, New Game Plus 2. So, go ahead and infect the red ant queen if you want to and you're not worried about having the ant hum mutation in your regular game. Then once you begin New Game Plus 1, you go and feed a hoagie moldy, or the moldy hoagie, that you normally give to the infected broodmother to summon it, and this will then reward you instantly with the sausager recipe. What the sausager recipe will do is allow you to craft Globassa links, which are basically crinkles. So all them deduper jellies that you're trying to get, obviously you're deduping a lot of trinkets that are worthless, and you can reuse them to make hopefully more trinkets. If you infect 2 ant queens, you will then unlock the second tier, which is the equivalent of the waffles, which will be the Globassa wristbands. Infect all 3 ant queens and then you'll be able to craft the Globassa necklaces, which are the equivalent of cones. So by the time New Game Plus 3 begins, you will be able to go ahead and craft lots of the Globassa necklaces, which effectively give you 3 of the stats. And again, it's all randomized. I'm not too sure if they change whether or not you reload your save when you craft them. I really do wish Obsidian had kept the ability to re-roll by duping them. And you never know, things may go that way. We've given lots of feedback, so they might make that change in the future. But it does look like that's it at the moment. That's how you can get all sorts of new trinkets from either killing creatures or crafting them yourself once you've got the sausager. And that brings me to the end of my guide. Thank you for watching. If you're fairly new to Grounded, hopefully that's given you the lowdown on every single type of trinket you can get and what you should really be focusing on mainly getting. Ominant, usually bad until you get into New Game Plus. Elemental trinkets are kind of okay, but not amazing. And then there's some really great ones that everyone should try and get. If you have found this guide useful, please leave a like, check out the rest of my Grounded guides and content, and I'll see you ratbags for more adventures, more guides soon. Bye bye.